Nearly 20 years after being nearly killed in a roadside bombing, ABC News correspondent Bob Woodruff is returning to the exact spot where it happened. The new special, After the Blast, The Will to Survive, follows Bob as he returns to the explosion site for the very first time, walking us through what happened that day, his remarkable recovery, and some painful lessons he's learned.
I think in many ways that I do have kind of two lives. The one before I was hit.
ABC's Bob Woodruff.
Bob Woodruff.
Bob Woodruff. Bob Woodruff.
And the one after.
Very seriously injured.
Their convoy was hit by an IED.
When I woke up, I couldn't remember the name Iraq. But now it's in my mind all the time. Iraq.
And Bob joins me now to share more of his story. Bob, thanks for coming on. Great to see you as always.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to start. What did you expect going into this? When you knew you were going to be going back to that spot, and how did it feel once you were actually there?
You know, I know this country's gotten, pretty, I wouldn't say completely normal, but certainly in Baghdad where we went, I knew this was not going to be a place where it's going to be dangerous. I tell people this, it's not missiles and bullets, IED explosions as the danger. Really now it's largely getting kidnapped or getting in a car crash. So I knew that, and I was comfortable going back there with my son. So I think it was ready to do it. It was the 20th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, and I just want to get this out of my soul.
Now, you say because of your brain injury after the explosion, you couldn't remember the names of your kids, you couldn't remember U.S. states. What was it like to have to relearn everything?
Well, in the beginning, it's called aphasia. I was hit in the left side, so it took away largely the words that I lost a lot of words that try to express what I wanted to say. But I think the first 6 months, it started to come back pretty quickly. And then another, up to about 2 years when these things still improve, and then it kind of flattens out a little bit. But, it's incredibly frustrating. It took me a long time to try to admit that I'm not going to go back, essentially kind of do what you do, and go, live television with memorization of words and presidents' names and locations and things like that. So it took some time for me to get back to that normal, because I'm completely fine in terms of cognitive abilities. It's just literally the words, when you've got aphasia, the letters get twisted around.
Well, and we're not talking about anything funny here, but your sense of humor has not missed a beat. You are still quicker than almost anyone I know. So you're doing great, Bob. But I also want to ask about your son, Mac, because he was just 14 when this happened, saw you go through all of this, right? Go through this remarkable recovery. And you mentioned this quickly, but he was with you on this trip when you went back to this spot. What was it like to have him there?
I had to think about the responsibility of a father to want to go back with your son, who was 14 when this happened, to the same war zone where you were hit. But because this place had really largely changed, in Baghdad, there's the hospitals are there, the restaurants are open, there's actually some tourists on the streets. So I knew it was going to be safe like that. In terms of emotion, to have him there with me, that it takes me back to that moment where I did this to the family. This was not just a wound to me, this was a wound to, our family life. And, Mac was one that was a victim of it. Listen, it's ended miraculously well because of so much support we had, families and friends, and the ability to deal with this issue. But yeah, to take him back there, part of me loved it because he wanted to do it for so long. And then also concerns all the time that what happened now, with our son there. That was kind of painful.
And yet he followed in your footsteps in many ways.
He's got his own production company now. He's a great shooter. He's a cinematographer. He creates documentaries. He does really only long-form stuff. But he's done some breaking news things too. But he's like me, but on the other side of the lens. And he loves this world. He likes creativity, and I'm proud that he's taken off.
And Bob, I'm out of time, but I quickly wanted to ask you. You talk about feeling like two different people: the Bob before this happened and the Bob after the explosion. What do you mean by that?
I mean, it's kind of you have to admit that when something like this happens, I know there's so many people that I know that are also impacted by an explosion or go into deep depression or had some kind of burns, or anyway, you become, your life is really different. It changed in an instant by this. And it takes a long time before people can finally admit it and find a different path to take your life on. And so I finally did, and I finally, there's so many things I did better then than I do now. But on the other hand, I've got this great, pride and happiness that I'm able to do something for the veterans, the foundation that we started.
And you've done so much with Stand Up for Heroes. I know we're going to learn a lot more in the special. Bob, thank you so much for coming on. It's
Thanks,
so great
Diane.
to see you.
Thank you so much.
And you can see the entire special After the Blast, The Will to Survive, tomorrow at 8/7 Central on ABC and streaming the next day on Hulu.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.